Welcome to my first vegetable garden. Today is the fourth video in my series about growing peppers and tomatoes from start to finish. The first three videos really showed you how to plant the seeds for the peppers and tomatoes and how to transplant the peppers over and kind of get them ready. Today we're going to talk more about tomatoes, do a similar process. A couple of things that I wanted to show you to start, as this is my second wave of tomatoes, and you can see that they just broke the surface a couple of days ago. It's March 26th, it's about 60 degrees out. One thing that you can do to keep your tomatoes and all of your seedlings or germinated seeds from getting leggy is just to take them outside as soon as they break the surface. These are the first leaves that break the surface. They're not the true leaves, but if they can get hit by sun like today, it's really a nice intense amount of sunlight which will help the tomato when you have to acclimate them off. That means if they've been growing indoors for 4 or 5 weeks, they don't know what the sun is. If you let them get the sun early, like now, about a half an hour today, a couple times a week, they're going to be hardened off already. They're not going to be at risk of coming outside and getting burned by the sun. And I've talked about acclimation and hardening off your vegetables in other videos. So when you have a chance, get them out into the sun, especially when they just break the surface. They'll really do well. They won't get leggy. They're not going to be reaching for artificial light. The full sunlight will really take care of them. So this is my second wave, and these probably got planted about 7 days ago. Here's the first wave of tomatoes that I planted back on February 29th. So this is about 4 weeks worth of growth. And these are my dwarf tomatoes, my cold tolerant tomatoes. I'm going to show you how to get them into the cups and get ready for the next round. So basically my tomatoes are going to be going into cups just like the peppers were. Now here are some tomatoes that I started way back in January, and these look like, for one, they look really healthy. These would be ready to go in the ground right now. However, being March 26th, I still have at least 4 weeks, 5 weeks of nights where frosts are going to come, and the nights are getting still too cold. Even though it's 60 degrees today, it's going to be 39 degrees. These were planted so that I could test germinate my seeds, before I sell them and before I start to grow them. What I wanted to show you are some interesting things going on. Right here, you can see these bumps coming. Let's see if I can get this in there. You can see these bumps coming off the plant. That's nothing gross or alien or anything to be worried about. That's actually the vine itself putting out new roots. These are kind of root nodes, and because they've been wet and humid around there, they're starting to send out roots. Why is that important? When you go to transplant your tomatoes, and let's just say it's almost May, my tomatoes are this size, much too large to be in here. You want to transplant them into the cups when they're about this size. But these are good for an example. Oh, another thing. Let me pop these out. These have been in these tiny cells. That's kind of root bound. But these have been fed the half-strength processed fertilizer like Miracle Grow, or you can find another company if you don't like Monsanto. But the processed fertilizers do a perfectly fine job of taking care of your seed starts. And just look how healthy these are. Processed fertilizers do not put harmful chemicals into your plants. All fertilizers, organic, processed, are chemicals, no matter how you slice it. So to plant these, let's just say your plant's got this big. Loosen up the root ball just a little bit to get the roots going in a different direction. You want to get a cup that is larger, and this is the bigger size, and you're going to plant it all the way through over these roots, through the red part and up to here. And that will sustain your plant. That cup size, this extra soil, will sustain your plant until you have the right temperatures for them to go out into the ground. So there's just no way I'm going to be able to hold this plant 6 more weeks. So, but I thought I would keep them, and I'm going to do actually some experiments on them to show you how to take care of them. But that's how you would plant up a bigger tomato, just into a cup like this. Make sure you label it, water it, half-strength fertilizer once a week, and this plant will do really, really well. So getting back to where we should be, you count back 6 or 8 weeks from the last, or from the first date your outdoor temperatures are going to be, what do I want to say? You want to count back 6 or 8 weeks from when your nighttime temperatures stay around 50 degrees for tomatoes and peppers, because these really have to get into the warm ground. So same thing as I did with the peppers. Pinch out the cell. You can see the root systems are starting to develop nicely. They're not quite winding up at the bottom, but they need to get into the cups. So I'm going to gently break this right down the middle. Always make sure you have holes in your cups. Label them. And that quickly I moved them and forgot what they were. And these are subarctic max. Again, today's the 26th. These were started at the end of February, so they're about 4 weeks old. Sub A. And you're going to get them right into these cups. They'll be able to grow in these cups and do really, really well while I wait for the temperature to warm up. Now that one I actually planted a little bit shallow. You want to plant it to about halfway, so right to about here you can do it. Let's do it the right way. So put in the soil, drop in the tomato, and sometimes you just don't need a lot of soil to go into the cup first. So that's about right. Gently press it in, and that's what you want to do with all your tomato transplants. Get them ready to sit in the cup, grow over the next 4 weeks or so in my area, and these will be really large. They'll be, as big as this plant come planting time. So you'll have this nice healthy transplant ready to go into your ground. Now you also I have some dwarf tomatoes, and you can see they're short and stocky, and just by looking at them, the dwarf tomatoes, are half the size of the Siberian. These are going to go actually into containers, into 2.5 gallon containers or 5 gallon containers, and I'm going to start growing these in my greenhouse. I'll give you an update on those later. Now for the feeding, I just want to stress it again. You can see, let me move this over just in case it's out. Once they're in the cups, the tomatoes and peppers sit in trays just like this. I start watering from the top. You don't need to bottom water anymore. The plants are stronger. And it's just half strength liquid fertilizer. Once a week, maybe once every 10 days. You don't need to overdo it. These were just watered. They're really heavy. That's how you can tell they're fully saturated. They're nice and heavy. Wait for the top of the soil to dry out before you water. You don't want your plants sitting in wet soil all the time. Give them a little time to dry out. So 4th video in, we are transplanting the tomatoes. The peppers are ready. Come the 5th video, I think I'll wait a couple of weeks till we're actually getting them into the garden and also cutting the tops off of the pepper plants. And I'll explain why we do that in that video. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please check out my blog at www.therestedgarden.blogspot.com and also check out my YouTube videos. Thanks.